Hello to you all. Hello. Just sorting out the computer. Excuse my voice. It's very very croaky today. My voice. So please excuse me. I just had some time to spare, and I just thought I'd hop on to just sort of explain a few of the subtleties. If you are a person that is wanting to reach full embodiment, and then I will just give towards the end a little mini update. It's just a little bit of information that I've received from my own awareness that I thought I would share on. Okay, so that will be towards the end. But I really hope this helps you sort of reach the subtler layers, the more subtle frequencies, if you are seeking full embodiment this lifetime. And I know I talk a lot about what is subtle, the subtle, but it's because everything is frequency. And at the state of consciousness, generally speaking, humanity has been in for thousands of years, that is a particular frequency. There's lots of frequencies within it, but it is a frequency, say here, okay? So when I talk about the subtle realms or the subtle frequencies, I'm talking about the presence of God. I'm talking about you being able to transcend and transcend and transcend into higher and higher frequencies within you in order to pick up these frequencies here, in order to be aware of them, in order to be in a state of awareness of the presence of God coursing through you and outside of you. So this is really, and it's what I'm going to be definitely moving more into on what I share with you. It will be more about helping people remember God. And feel God. Feel God's presence within them. Feel God's presence outside of them. This is what the ascension to me is all about. So first of all, what I really want to hopefully help with is prayer. There are many people all over the world that pray to God in different ways, in different cultures, in different religions. They use different words. And what that is, so I've got some little things here. This is the human praying to God. Okay, so in this particular video, there's no chickens. It's a lemon, which is the human, and we're going to say the orange is God. And so when you use words, no matter your religion, no matter where you are in the world, it's this one feeling in separation to this one. And so there is this speaking to that. And that is the prayers that have been spoken for thousands of years, really. If we take it into another direction, spirituality, we can, on our awakening path, find light language. And we can use light language. But again, that language was created after God's creation. So if you think of God, whatever name you wish to call God, I don't mind, yeah. You call it any name you like. God doesn't mind. But if you think of God's creation, the absolute, and then it created out from itself, everything it created out from itself then creates a this and a that. So light language is after God's creation, and so it is still this as light language and that as God the absolute. And if I take it into another direction, where people say practice yoga as a physical body practice, it can help relax the mind. It can take you into a different state, just like light language. But you're still having to be aware of the body in order to not fall over. And so there can be a relaxed state of being doing yoga, but there's still this body trying to keep itself balanced so it doesn't fall over, and that, which is God's presence. And, just finally, although I'm sure there's so many different more examples, but just finally, when we think about meditation, and the practice of Eastern meditation, where we use mantras, I practice TM meditation, which uses a mantra, and I've done that since my awakening. But with the practice of mantras during meditation, it's the human wanting to connect to the absolute. So the mantra is coming from the human that feels separated to God. So the reason I'm sharing all of that is to show you the separational state of the human wishing, seeking God, the absolute. But it's doing so by being the doer. It is doing this. It is doing that. It is speaking this. It is thinking this. It's the doer. The human is in doing mode. And there's nothing wrong, by the way, with any of that. I'm just trying to help you go further. Take you further than that. A step further. It's by letting the words fall away in your prayers. By being in prayer, wishing to connect to God, but letting the words fall away and remain there. It's by being in meditation and allowing that mantra to just naturally fall away, and you find yourself going into the silence. It's by silencing the doer that you end up in here, in the awareness of this. And in the awareness of this, that doesn't exist. The human, when you are in the awareness, in the presence of God the Divine, you are not aware of this. You're not aware of being human. You're not aware you have a body. You're in the presence. And so what I'm trying to share with you is to allow your steps, to allow whatever you do to seek God, whatever your journey. But if you're truly, truly wishing to embody the presence and the essence of God within you, then there comes a point where you have to let this fall silent and not dominate you, not be the doer, but be nothing. you're then giving yourself the chance to witness being inside of this. And when I say witness, there's nothing to see and everything to feel. And it's by continued practice of just dropping the thoughts, dropping the doing, that the presence that you feel in that state, you then transcend and transcend and transcend through your days and your weeks and months and years, and it transcends you. And so you don't necessarily need to meditate. You don't need to ask, because you're experiencing in your waking state the presence within you. So there's no separation. You're always going to be aware that there's this human body, this human avatar that has its own particular peculiarities, its own silliness and funniness, etc., its own degrees of personality, and yet so much will have been transcended from that personality, such as behaviors and beliefs. But you still retain this character, but in retaining it, you're also in awareness of God. This is the state that you're in. You're in this awareness, but you just have this form. So I'm sharing that because in these times, obviously that it has become more chaotic in the last year since I told you we were going into the time of tribulation, and you can see in the world that it has become louder and more chaotic. And so it is designed, it is prophesized, this timeline, and it is designed fundamentally so that more people turn to God. Whatever they wish to call God, it's the one God. And oftentimes it's through trial and tribulation, through suffering and pain, anguish, all sorts of human emotions, or loss, that we can turn to God. It's often that way. So I hope that part helps. It's to try and use the tools that you choose to use, that work for you, but to realize that there's more, and that there comes a time when, if you're seeking full enlightenment, you're going to transcend the tools that you use, and it's just step by step by step, and when you feel and know the presence, it then becomes more regular and more regular and more regular until it becomes you, and you're in it daily, as well as having this little fella hopping around and doing what it's doing in this physical holographic reality. So I'll give you a little mini update on what I've been shown to expect in the world, and I just share in case it helps you navigate. It's hard for me to describe this because I'm going to have to use a couple of labels that I don't want to use, and yet try as I have, we're in a timeline where we're still speaking human languages to each other instead of being completely telepathic with each other. So we have to use these words, and I don't wish to trigger anyone by the words at all. I pray that you can feel me and hear that I'm actually coming from neutrality. Yeah. So I'm just going to use a couple of labels just to describe something, and I will tell you what those labels are when I get to it. But it is just information. It's just light data. It comes from complete neutrality within me. So in this current timeline, I've recently been shown in the last 2 days that within the world, within the storyline, which is all perfect, it is all prophesized, there's going to be an increased intensity between two camps. That's CAMPS. Okay, that's a label, camps. So between one sort of group of people and another group of people, there's going to be greater intensity between those two groupings of people, between them, literally. Okay. One of those groupings, you could say, is an unawakened state that is in an underlying way trying to hold on to control of the people and what the people see and what the people believe. Okay. So there's quite a few labels there that I didn't want to use, but it's not all unawakened people. Okay. It's just a particular group there that are always wanting to influence humanity by their control of what humanity knows of ongoing events. Okay, that's one group. The other group, and again, I don't wish to use these labels, but I don't know how to speak to you otherwise without words. The other group is the people that you could call, oh gosh, and this is hard because it's such a wide group of frequencies, and I'm not wanting to box it all up, but it's a particular group of people that we could call truth seekers, but truth seekers that cause harm, that want a war, that that you could call it conspiracy theorists, but truth seekers or conspiracy theorists that are actually enjoying it, enjoying the anger, enjoying putting people down, wanting a spiritual war, wanting a human war. Okay. So again, there's a wide group of people, and I'm only talking about a small amount within them. But what I've been shown will develop between those two groups is that this group will create an intensity to put these people down. And these people will create more intensity in putting them down. So in other words, there's going to be more intensity between these two camps or groups, between them. More discord, more disharmony. I hope that makes sense. And the reason I'm sharing this with you is to understand that there is a divine reason for it. It's just so that because everything has to be seen. Everything has to rise up to be seen for a higher choice to be made. and everybody is always being given the opportunity for a higher choice. Everyone is. Whether they take it or not is up to them. And even if they don't take the higher choice, I personally still see the perfection of the whole bigger picture, because at soul level people are playing parts within this holographic reality, and they're playing those parts for you and me, and other people watching this to choose. It's how do we react to those actors within the main screen. How are we reacting to them? Are we going into more separation? Are we choosing sides? It's always about you. It's always about me and my reaction to anything outside of me. And I think that gets forgotten within the spiritual arena sometimes, where it can be these two groups that are pointing the finger at each other. And you've got the mainstream people saying, these are all conspiracy theorists. So basically, anything that is something that is deemed not normal is a conspiracy, normal to the human state of consciousness this group are in. Anything that is outside of their box is deemed as untrue and a conspiracy theory, and that's what's going to intensify. And then for people, as I say, not everybody, it depends on their frequency, but for people that are just wanting the fight and wanting the war, and wanting, this person to be punished and all the rest, their aggravation, if you like, is going to intensify towards the mainstream. And really, I said the word punished there, and it just reminded me of something that I feel humanity again has forgotten. Who is it that has chosen to punish people but human beings in forgetfulness of God? The God that I know is all loving, that doesn't punish people, but knows the design that it has created, its exploration of itself in every vibration and every species. So it's humanity, it's the ego that over millennia chooses to punish people by their judgment, by their anger. There's only God. There's only God. And a person's actions, I'm going off tangent here, but a person's actions, a person's thoughts, if we look at it from the bigger picture scenario, a person's actions, a person's words, what they do, how they treat people, it's not to be judged, because we don't know what that soul has chosen before this incarnation. It's always about our reaction to them. Can we stay in a state of love? Can we allow God to be the guide once more? And it may be that that person, finishes their life at some point and exits a physical body, and then the soul will say, well, okay, we didn't learn this, we didn't learn that, let's go back and learn something, let's go back and redo that so that we can learn and expand this soul into more of God's consciousness. So who are we to judge? Okay, so just finally, before I hop off, I'm making some homemade fruit juice at the moment, and it's on the cooker simmering at the moment. So before I attend to that, I just want to help you understand really what's happening, because even though I've explained there's going to be that intensity between those two camps, what is also happening, and it really is unprecedented, there aren't the words for it, is there's the rising, there's the transcending into higher and higher states of consciousness. And this is happening daily to people all over the planet. It's massive what's happening. And so in the greater scheme of things, it is that, you know, if this is a set of scales, yeah, or a seesaw, then it is that we are rising up. Humanity is rising up gradually in frequency, and they're going to become that new human, that energetic human that is aware within themselves of the presence of God inside and outside. So humanity is raising up in frequency. But look what happens, it's all simultaneous, is that as we rise in frequency, so these lower frequencies dissolve. They dissolve. If we use this ruler in a different way, and we think of this as lower vibrational frequencies, so you could liken it within the human to the lower emotions, yeah? And we came into the planet, we knew we were coming into forgetfulness. We knew we'd forget. We were told we'd forget. But that we would awaken at some point in our life, and then we would start our journey back into God awareness. And so if we look at frequencies of the human, and these do relate to the lower chakras, okay, is that, you know, every day you're doing this with your energy frequency. So you can be in a lower state of how you feel, and then a heightened state. You can go from a little bit of sadness down here to then feeling happy, to then feeling excited, to then feeling melancholy, to then thinking about things in the past, and your energy might dip down if it was something upsetting. And this is what we're always doing. Our energy is always changing in every single moment. You only have to look at the birds outside to see that. Yeah? In the morning, when the sun rises, this is the sine wave I'm talking about. But when the sun rises, the birds sing. They're very busy. They go looking for food. 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they quieten down and they relax and they have a rest. And then there's a flurry in the afternoon. And then as the sun sets, the birds quieten down with the sun after their chorus. And I call that their chorus of gratitude to God for that day. But at a human level, we are doing this every single day. There's not your frequency, your energy is always changing. It's always in a flux. But what happens on the path to the full enlightenment, to the state of God knowing, is that the frequencies that you experience down here, these are lower vibrations. These could be intense fear, intense anger, intense control of self, or control of others, or control of many others. Yeah, these are lower vibrations. And then as you take your steps on your path, your unique way, what happens slowly is you end up being here. And so your daily life fluctuates here. And as you keep going, you end up raising in frequency and you become here. And your daily life fluctuates. And your feelings and emotions fluctuate here. Now you can have a big dip. And that's what people call the dark night of the soul, right? How many times have we heard that? Many times. But you can have a massive big dip. If you're here, you can have a massive big dip, and it can feel absolutely awful. But then you just get back up. You get back on the horse, and you're back here again. So it's a journey of frequency and vibration. But what happens is the more you continue and don't give up and don't go into despair and don't self-sabotage yourself, you self-sabotaging you, then you're just going to rise and rise in frequency. You're still going to have some lows, okay? But when you get to here, it can be that you're in bliss, and the low that you dip down to, you could just describe as happy being. You're just being happy in quietness, but it's not the energy frequency of bliss. Or it can just be that you go from bliss and then just into peacefulness. But this is embodiment. This is what you're embodying. You're embodying the bliss. You're embodying, at this point, you're embodying eternal peace. Whereas down here, you have moments of peace, and then they go. And then you feel fine, and then something happens. And down here, then you react based on the personality and the attributes of that particular personality. But you just react. And then you may get something sorted out and you feel better, but it's the ego that feels better if something is sorted, and then you can go back to feeling in peace. As you transcend and go higher and higher and higher in frequency, what I'm trying to show you is that all those lower emotions of fear, control, anger, despair, they fade away, and they're not part of your daily living, because you're in these higher frequencies and they become the sustained you. But there's always more. There's always more to that state of God realization that we are headed towards. So to try and understand with love, with deep love and compassion for everyone, because we know what it's like to be human. We know what it's like to be upset, no matter how our own upset presents. For some people, it's to shout. For other people, it's to be upset quietly within ourselves, and not show that to the world. It really doesn't matter. It's just the fact that, you know, this human avatar, there's far more to you than you're human. This is just an experience for your consciousness. And your consciousness is having another experience over there as a Palladian, or another experience over there as another being in another galaxy that we don't even know about. Yeah? You're more than this. You're more than all your aspects that are playing out simultaneously all at once everywhere. You're this. You're in this all the time. You're always in and within God's presence. It's just that you do need to quieten the very loud mind that is strong in terms of programming. It's strong, but it's by quietening the mind that you give yourself the opportunity to feel the subtle higher vibrations. And the more you give yourself those opportunities to feel them, the more they become you, and the more it's sustained within you. And then that's the difference between being in suffering and then being in a state where you can see everything outside of you that is going on, but no matter what it is, you remain inside you in this eternal state of peace. So I hope that helps. It was quite a babble, I appreciate. Just please, be aware always of self. It's always about you. It's not about the outside. You are the one that is here to be the change. So no matter what happens on the outside, It is about your reaction to it. And to not beat yourself up afterwards and think, oh, I shouldn't have done that and I shouldn't have said that. No, just that is self-sabotage, yeah? It's just to go, oh, wow, look at me reacting in that way. If you truly, truly have remorse, if anyone truly, truly has remorse within them for what they say, for what they think, for what they do, then they will want to change, and they will change. But when a person doesn't have remorse within them, what they're basically saying is, oh, I like being this way, I will continue to be this way. And so they will create more and more and more situations where they can act this way. It's not about joining in the bun fight that is going on in the world. The spiritual arena itself has become, louder in the last year during this time of tribulation. People are finding it harder and harder to, or have been, should I say, some people to control their anger or their resentment or their rage or their judging. And really all that points to, this is where you have to be aware of the self. All that points to is the inner war that's going on within you. And that's what the whole of this tribulation timeline is all about. It's about bringing up to the surface within each individual throughout the world anything that is remaining. It has to be seen, and it will be seen by the self, and it will be seen by those outside of you. And then to choose another way, the new way, the way that we have all been brought in to realize. And when you realize it, and you realize it, and you realize it, and people all over the world become the new way, that's how it easily, naturally becomes the new normal. And the old will just fade away. So I hope some of that helps. And I'll leave you be and just send you so much love. So much love. God bless. Bye-bye for now. Bye-bye.